With wildfires in the West, hurricane season, and an upcoming election in the U.S., climate and climate change have come up quite a bit lately, as have questions around what science really knows about the issue of climate change. So, what are the scientific understandings of climate change? And what are they based on? What are the data? We'll take a look at some of it in this series of videos, and we'll start here with some of the earlier work by a scientist named Svante Arrhenius, who tried to determine what effects different levels of carbon dioxide in the air might have on average temperatures, predicting specific amounts of warming with increasing levels of carbon dioxide, and vice versa. Now, one thing I want to highlight about this work is when it was done. When Arrhenius published his paper, the U.S. president was Grover Cleveland. It was 1896. Arrhenius' primary interest wasn't in the climate change that we often think of today. He was more interested in explaining temperature changes on a geological timescale. Think like the Ice Age. The point, though, is the idea that average temperature would go up with increasing levels of so-called greenhouse gases, like CO2, in the air, is a pretty basic understanding that's existed for a long time, well before any issues around climate policy and fossil fuel emissions. In fact, it's an understanding that predates Arrhenius himself. The mechanism works a lot like you covering up under a blanket. That blanket traps some of the heat that your body gives off and causes the space inside to warm up. Likewise, there are a number of molecules, not just carbon dioxide, but also nitrous oxide, methane, even water vapor, that act like a blanket for the Earth. It, like our bodies, radiates heat, some of which is able to get through the atmosphere and escape off into space. The thicker that molecular blanket is for the Earth, the more heat gets trapped. The reality is, it would actually be pretty weird if increasing levels of things like carbon dioxide didn't increase average temperatures. That would be kind of hard to explain. So if that's the case, what do we understand about those levels? What are the data around them? We'll take a look at that in the next video.